just say this. First of all, thank you very much for bringing me on your platform. Um, I mean, when I initially emailed you, I didn't think that you were going to answer my email. Um, as I said before in my previous video, I'm just trying to break in the radio broadcasting communication arena. Um, but I do want to say this because I too looked at the comments, and I just want to say congratulations, brother, for what you have done. Um, the purpose of this platform really is to bring people together, and you definitely did that. You created a unity environment. You got people coming on from all walks of life, and it's commendable of what you've done so far on this talk show. And even despite you have more positives, because I've actually looked at the YouTube dislikes website to see how many people like the show and how many dislike the show. So far, I've seen an overwhelming um, response on the likes, and it's very much appreciated. It tells us that we're actually going in the right place. You might have some trolls on there on this show, and I'm going to speak on that because unfortunately, there's just a lot of people who shut their mind down from the knowledge. They don't want to go past 5 minutes of the show. And that's on them because this information is not for everybody. I mean, I'm not expecting to wake up the dead because I know that if you wake up the dead, they're going to wake up fighting you because they're so used to being in ignorance. And this show, I'm going to pretty much reiterate what I've said in the previous show, but give you some very powerful information. So I've always saved the best for last. No more of this, oh, you need to be prepared and everything. I don't look into those negatives because I know me. I've done talk shows before. It's just that my reasoning for the last portion of it is I was a little bit unprepared and came at the last minute because I was just so interested in getting this thing out of my mind. There's no point in keeping all this information if you can't take it with you. I mean, unfortunately, you just want to share it out to everybody so they understand what their awareness is and what they're seeing, because this reality is not real at all. All of this is an illusion. Ultimately, this platform brings us together because this is just straight up unity, and that's awesome. So let me just get that out the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started if you don't mind.
Okay. What are you giving us today? Because I believe we had some questions last time that we presented to you, and again, even today, I have a question. I think you will touch on. There is this guy called in the Bible, Genesis 9:20, 27 to 27. There is this guy. I think it's Ham, who was cast by his father, and a lot of people believe that that cast generation is the black people. So when you give us this knowledge, I think you will touch on that. Dive into it, Chief.
Actually, I want everyone to hold all of their questions to the end of the show. I think that what I'm going to present on this particular phase right now will answer many questions. And I'm also going to provide a copy of these notes to you. They're a bit all over the place. I didn't have time to get this the way I wanted to, but I got it written down here. So I'm gonna actually go based off what I wrote on here. And hopefully, and there's going to be a few exercises that I want the viewers to do as well, so that get a little bit more intuitive. So sit back, drink your coffee, get a beer, get some liquor, whatever you got to do, because it's about to be on. On like Donkey Kong.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna make it do what it does. So let's do it.
Let's get to it. What are we discussing today, Chief Zulu?
So I'm gonna reemphasize what I did on the previous show, and I'm gonna add more information to what I previously said On top of that, I've also looked at some of the questions that I'm going to address from the comments into this show here. And then maybe I got a little surprise toward the ending of the show. Something that you want to do, King and Beast, that me and you have discussed, and you'll be very shocked. And all of this ties together in terms of the mysteries of the Caucasians, in terms of how these things got to where it is today, and why we live in man's thought rather than just living the true reality of Black Africans. And I'm also going to reemphasize race, because I know a lot of people are confused with the Black Negro, Black, colored, and all these other terminologies. I'm going to tell you where that derives from, and hopefully I will be able to answer all of that today.
Yeah, so you can just start.
Sweet. Let's get to it then. So first I'm going to go ahead and address the trolls, okay? Because this is very important. I'm going to read word for word of what I wrote, so bear with me. Here's an intriguing concept with trolls and their multifaceted role in our society. It's fascinating how those individuals often dismissed as mere agents of ignorance or characterize themselves as non-player characters, aka automatons in this digital landscape of the satanic system, might play a more significant part in much larger framework that shapes our perception. I found myself drawn to the pertinent discussions surrounding operations like Mockingbird and MK Ultra created by the Central Intelligence Agency and the media. These historical accounts invite us to consider the extent of control that is exerted over public narratives and the potential implications for our collective awareness. It makes me wonder, are these trolls simply distractions, or could they be unwitting participants in a broader scheme that manipulates how we understand reality? So the point that I'm trying to make here is, when you are conditioned to think a certain way, it's difficult to discern the truth from reality. That's, and I'm going to provide examples. I mean, you can simply just go on YouTube, type up The Matrix, and type up "So Hopeless Dependent on the System." There's a 2-minute scheme that someone uploaded, pretty much indicating how we live in today's world and how so many people, trolls by the way, sit there and they're protecting what they already know, not realizing that they were actually taught and conditioned to be a certain kind of way without listening to truth. So they can't discern the truth from a lie. And they always going to say, "Oh, I've learned this from my grandmothers and they taught me all of this." Well, it's not that your grandmother and your mothers were at fault, because they only did what they thought they could actually teach you at that time, because they didn't know. So you can't blame them for what they taught you. But it's up to the individual, because everybody's responsible for their own life. Everybody's responsible for how they live. And, you have to be personally accountable for every action that you're doing. That's the purpose of the law of cause and effect and the law of correspondence. So here are my thoughts. I find myself compelled to share some of these thoughts, to have that has been resonating with me deeply within me regarding the intricate nature of truth and quest of knowledge. It's truly intriguing to ponder the moments in our lives when we find ourselves at a crossroads, faced with choices that can either illuminate our paths or shroud us in ignorance. The essence of these decisions often lies in whether we choose to embrace the knowledge that has the potential to radically transform our reality, or whether we gravitate toward the comfort of familiarity of choice. While seemingly, safe may ultimately lead us astray from the journey of discovery. As you reflect on your own journey, I encourage you to delve deeper and consider what really brought you to this point. In other words, Kingdom, people now gravitate to your show And many people look at your show as entertaining, not realizing that they're laughing at other people's misery when in reality they have their own misery to laugh at. Because it's pitiful that we all can't come together and talk. Simple things that we used to do back then, we can't seem to come together and communicate. Everybody has their share. Everybody has their share. And by the way, we're the biggest judgmental people on this planet. Everybody wants a judge. He who had not committed sin may throw the first stone. So everybody likes to throw that stone, not realizing that they committed sin and being contradicting in themselves. You're such a hypocrite. So, are you here to merely for entertainment, or is this more profound quest that drives you toward understanding? Meaning, what led you to this show to begin with? Something had to bring you here. Clearly, your higher self is telling you, hey, you might want to go ahead and listen to this because this might actually help you understand your reality so that you don't have to keep praying to God for the answers that you already know. The exploration of truth is not just an intellectual exercise, it's a vital pursuit that can unravel remarkable insights if we open ourselves to fully understand the possibilities that lie ahead. Remember, seeking is the first and most important step, and you will truly find what you're looking for. How do you influence your own journey of exploration? These questions can be answered within, as you already have the tools within you to get answered. Seek and you shall find. Okay, moving on. Now the good parts. Now that we got that out the way and everybody can clearly understand where I'm coming from, because everybody's information is correct. There's really no wrong answer. We're all trying to find the piece of the puzzle, trying to understand where we are and why we as Black people, I'm going to use that terminology from this point. Black people have a problem of communicating. Somebody's got to be right. Somebody immediately shuts down the information. Ultimately, we roll out. We go backwards. And I will provide a solution to this toward the end of the show. So let's get into the knowledge. I told you in the previous show about the Ankh of eternal life. The symbol of the Ankh is basically a womb of a woman. You have the fallopian tubes. You have the baby where it's born, and then, of course, you have the male's penis, or you can look at it as from the woman giving birth to a child. Did you know that in your brain there is I cannot put this, maybe a bone that looks like the shape of an ankh. It sits right underneath your brain. It's called the Circle of Willis, aka fornix, Fornix, is the medical terminology for what is called the Circle of Willis. That portion of it is where the pineal gland sits, right in the middle, that little circle. That's where the womb is. That gives life. Now, the purpose of that, because many Caucasian people's pineal gland is calcified, we as a people, Black people, have the ability to transmit and receive information through our pineal gland. We can dream, we can go to multiple dimensions, etc., etc. You can even communicate to Yahweh that way, all through the pineal gland. It's our mark as melanated people. So let us make man out of our own image. Stems from that exact theory as to how we're able to communicate to our ancestors and our sources and back. It also provides you discernment, and it's basically, it's connected to your central nervous system. If anybody heard the word Kepra, it's basically the sun in the middle with the wings, and there's a staff that's usually connected to it. You see it in hospitals today, believe it or not. and you see the little DNA symbols going all the way up to the sun, that's the Kepra. It might be called something else, but I know it as Kepra, aka Ra in Egypt. That symbol is in the back of your spine. So whenever you meditate, you have your DNA is activated. It goes through your multiple chakras and makes sure that the chakras are spinning on the clock. I think it's clockwise. Yes, clockwise. And each chakra is connected to major functions in your body. And then once all of them are open, you meditate into what you call either a dream world or more like a sort of like a dream state, so to speak. I know I'm kind of going back and forth on that, but it's basically meditation. You're going into a meditative state. So basically, I've already explained that the womb is a symbol, is basically the symbolism to the Ankh, and the Christians, their cross, as you know, is pretty much male-driven. It's a male image. The Ankh is a matriarch image. And everything back in Africa, back in those days, you used to, you'll see a lot of Ethiopians wear the Coptic cross. That's similar to the Ankh, but that's more ancient than it is the Ankh itself. And you can only purchase it in Ethiopia. I personally like the wooden ones because I'm pretty much attracted to the religion aspect of their Christian base, and it has a lot of truth, and which is some of the reasons why you don't really see that Bible in today's world. They try to ban it here in the States, but you can still get it, through people. You got to know people to get it, et cetera, et cetera. And if you're not affiliated with that sect, the Christian sect, then you won't be able to get access to the Ethiopian Bible. But that's the oldest book. And I think it's probably a few others, but that's one of the oldest books that exists in terms of the Bible. So I'm going to give you an exercise. I'm going to prove to you that your central nervous system has the power to create a ball of energy. So what I want everyone to do is pretty much, kind of clear yourself from the table, what have you. And I just simply want you to just pretty much wiggle your fingers, clench your fists several times. And then when you get a chance, I give you a moment, clench your fists as many times as you can on both sides. Then what I want you to do is put your hands apart from each other, at least 3 to 5 inches, creating a ball of energy. And at some point, when you finally finish doing you're clenching your fists and you're wiggling your fingers, you should be able to feel a ball of energy between your two hands. Now, you can use that ball of energy for your food or anything like that if you want to deviate anything that Caucasian man has actually put in your food. All of that genetically modified crap they put in your food. If you need to, do a lot of prayer, you can actually put that ball of energy to yourself. You can imagine yourself being in a meditative state and having communion with the Creator. You'll do all sorts of things with that ball of energy. Each one of us is a Marvel comic. And by the way, even though I'm a Moor, I'm everybody. I could be whatever I want to be, because in every culture, we all have a common ancestry that's tapped to Africa. I'm going to explain to you the derivative of how this Caucasian boy actually created Africa and as to the actual continent. Yes, I do know that Africa has about 56 countries within the continent. So I'm well aware that Africa is a continent. However, it's not the original name. If you want to do some homework on it, you'll look and see that Africa was actually something different before it was called Africa. And I will go into that as well. Sun gaze. Here's another exercise. I said that in the previous episode, in the previous video. If you just sit out there and you look at the sun between the hours of 4 and 6, Just look at the sun for at least 3 or 4 seconds, then close your eyes immediately, and you'll be able to see the sun between your two eyes. You can actually manipulate the image after a while to wherever you want it. You can make it into a shape. It could be multiple suns. And if you're really careful, depending on where you are in a calm environment, you literally will go to a multiple dimension, multiples of various different dimensions. So that's a quick way to meditate, for your understanding. So I've already explained the conditioning from trolls. Usually it's an ego. I don't know if anybody's seen the movie called The Revolver. It's basically you see yourself in the mirror. The mirror itself is actually talking to you, and one is actually in truth, the other one is a lie, and they just fighting each other, trying to get a point across, and ultimately they know that your body, your physical state, is what's actually being controlled from the spirit, and you determine which one you want to be. So look at the movie Revolver for any of the trolls out there so you can understand how the ego works. The ego is basically evil. It thinks it's human, but it's not human. So how did all this start? It started back in the Nicene Council of 325 AD. It was also maybe a little bit before that, where a few Vaticans and a few dignitaries came together to come up with a way to pretty much reshape society. Believe it or not, it was Ptolemy I who was the successor of Alexander the Fake back in Alexander, Egypt. And it was he that came to some Egyptians one day and said, hey, I would like you to make me a god. And a lot of the Egyptians, the Nubian Egyptians back at that time, said, no, I ain't going to do that. No, everything down here is black. Everything is Nubian related. This land is Nubian related. And Europeans are not allowed to come in here and try to take over our stuff. So eventually they got some Uncle Toms and some Auntie Thomasinas who broke down and sold themselves out for a quick buck just to get rich. And they wind up making Alexander the Fake a god. Well, later on, after that time, he left or died. He perished and died. And his successor, Ptolemy I, came into play. So Ptolemy I said, hey, I'm going to make y'all do what I want you to do. You're going to make me a god or else. So he got a bishop to pretty much baptize him so that he can be indoctrinated into the Egyptian mysteries, and made himself a god in Alexander, Egypt, and pretty much sold the people out in Egypt because they wanted to keep it in-house and they wanted to spread the word and so forth. And believe it or not, this was the cause of racism today. At that time, that was the beginning of how racism got started. From that point, there was a brother by the name of Arius, who was a Libyan person at the time, who saw Ptolemy go around saying that he was going to do some great things for this land and so forth. And this brother Arius came out and said, hey, we don't appreciate you coming in here thinking that you this God and you weren't even born here. That's like saying you got a lot of Caucasian people born in South Africa, but they're not really originally from South Africa. They're not British. They didn't come from that country. They were brought there by immigrants and they landed there and they cultivate themselves just like the other indigenous people in South Africa. And that's what made them to become where they are right now. So it was just like that back then. Somebody was very outspoken. Arius sat around and preached the gospels of the ancient Egyptian mysteries, and suddenly he just, his peoples left because they sold them out and left them out there by himself. And the reasoning behind that was because the Ptolemy at the time, they got together like they normally do. These are what Caucasians do. Whenever they want to plan something, they always get together and they talk about this, talk about what they want to do. And don't you know, they came up with this new image called Serapis Christos. Serapis, Serapis, Christos. No, Christ with a US at the end. That became the image of which is now known as Jesus Christ. That image is what you see posted in all these churches, in the graven image, this Jesus down on the cross. Serapis Christos is the exact image of Jesus Christ. And that's how Jesus was born. So, if you want to go and check, don't take my word for it. Just Google it. Type in Serapis Christus, and you will see the statue image showing the exact look of the Jesus that people pray to. So when you praying to this Jesus, you actually praying to a Caucasian man. And you want everything that you got, everything that you thought you received from Jesus came from Serapis Christus. Now, we all know that there was a black Jesus. His name was Heru, and it was in Egypt. And in many other cultures, they make a sort of like a replica of Heru, and in the form of the Black Madonna. Okay? So, you know, the Black Madonna, believe it or not, I'm going to tell you a real secret. I'm going to tell you a secret. Did you know the Black Madonna with the Black child is actually in the Vatican's basement? And he prays to it by kissing the feet of this Black Madonna. And you can type that up too, because it's in his basement and he goes there and he prays every day. So this Vatican, believe it or not, that you see today is a remnant of Christos. I think it's called Ptolemy V is the one that made the Vatican till this day. So when he goes around, he says, "Oh, I was pretty much commissioned by God to be this Christian image everywhere. You know, everybody, if you want to go and pray, just come there and he'll give you a blessing from man." So little did you know that the Vatican, he prays to Satan, believe it or not. If you go in there, I've actually visited myself, if you want to know. And for those that want to know where I've been traveling, let me give you a list. I went to Korea, I went to Cambodia, I went to Thailand, I went to Egypt twice. So I've seen the Holy Land. I've seen all that it offers. I even got as close to Sudan. I was really literally at the border. I went to Mexico, saw the nice pyramids there, and there's a connection between all of these monuments, which hopefully I can get into later on as well. So no doubt. If you really want to know, go in there, type up Serapis Christus. And by the way, while you're at it, type in the word Cretin, Cretin. It means a stupid person. And they put in that dictionary, it's not not my words whatsoever, but if you type that in, it will literally tell you a stupid Christian. That's what it says on there. That's their words, not mine. So I just want to bring that to your attention. Now, don't you know, if you want to change the world and you want people to pray to you, you have to go into a group of rich people and all these other Caucasians. By the way, all of these are artificial beings. They come together and they talk. Don't you know it took them 750 years to create the reality that you see today? So you living in a Caucasian man's thought for everybody. Now, it could be not just black men, not just black women, but their own, the Europeans, the Africans, so forth. And they create this division to make it look like we got a problem with each other. When in reality, it's them. And there's a secret behind that Caucasian man, which Kenyon brought to my attention. And I just had a little light bulb in my head. And I said, okay, there's a connection there. It's the Jews. The Ashkenazi Jews. Yes. They make up 10%, maybe less than that, maybe less than, I'll say 5%. These Jews go around just controlling everything. The Ashkenazis, the Khazarians, etc., etc. I'm gonna move on. Let y'all do your own homework on that. So, ask yourself this question. What causes a lightning bolt to hit Caucasians? Have you ever seen a lightning bolt hit a black person at all? Have you ever seen a black ghost? Has anybody seen a black spirit walking around here? Common sense, right? You know? No? Well, I could tell you, did you know that the shadow is melanin? All of us carry it. We have a shadow. Every time you stand in front of that sun, that's melanin. And you want to know what that is? Just pointing there, just sitting there near the sun. You're like, okay, I see myself. I'm walking. Okay, you can always tell what time it is just by standing, and you can see what time it is. You can pretty much tell time based on your own shadow. That's melanin. That's your spirit. It's freaky, isn't it? But let me move on. I'm going to read a verse for you. This is, something that kind of hit me the wrong way, or because, if you had these two angels that came down and they walked to this city and they saw all this defiled crap going on before the flood, it's called Sodom and Gomorrah. How interesting. If they really did their work and turned everybody to a pane of salt, without them, if they were to pretty much witness what was going on in the city, then how come it's still going on to this day? You have some Sodom and Gomorrah going all over the place, especially here in America. Everybody sleeping with the same sex, not caring what they're doing things, some defiled crap with children, which is really nasty. But that's Sodom and Gomorrah. So if they did the work back then, how come they didn't do the work now? Interesting. They're still committing sin. I'll leave that up to you to figure that out. Okay, so, then you got people that you accept, women wearing, you wearing women's clothing. You have an AKA bleep the J word in Hollywood dressing black men as women. You got Caucasian men trying to fake like they want to be a woman, so they want to be pregnant like one, when in actuality it was a woman before they transitioned into a man, and make it look like the man is actually giving birth. Or, you just got all kinds of crap going on with same sex. Everybody wants to be this woman, but yet you want this to be a patriarch society. I'll let you figure that out. So, Revelations 1:14 is this one that says, let's see, let me get there. Let's see. I already said that. I said that. If you are a merciful God, why are you a jealous God when you have other gods before you? Did you know that? How can I put this?
That is Revelation 1:14.
Yeah, 1:14 is talking about being a jealous God if you have other gods before it. Basically, it was a commandment, and I'm gonna tell you in a minute that commandment does not exist in the Egyptian text. That was actually made up. And the to be a jealous God, and I want to make sure I got that right. Let me make sure I got that right. Let me make sure, because you got some trolls out there that want to be politically correct. Let me double check. See, it's just a matter of just going over there and typing up Google, making sure that I got the right information. There we go. There we go. Let's see. Revelation 1:14. And by the way, Revelations came from the book of Gates, I think it is, from Egypt text. So they copied everything from there. Okay, now that's the wrong one. Yep, that's the wrong one. So that was my fault there. So I would take the L on that one. So hold on for a minute.
Revelation 1:14 is talking about the hair on his head was white like wool.
Ah, that's it. There we go.
White as snow.
I had my stuff mixed up there, so I'm gonna admit that. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. I wrote the wrong Bible text on that, so just give me with that, because that's actually.
As you're still looking, let me welcome here. Let me welcome here Nubian King. Thank you for being here. Michael Royal, thank you for being here. Thank you all of you who are contributing. If you have any question, kindly just type here, and Chief Zulu will tackle all your questions, because we are talking about the hidden secrets of Caucasian. Here we are just spitting knowledge. Chief Zulu is spitting knowledge.
Yeah,
you get it now?
Yeah, I got it. It's Exodus 34:14. So basically it just says, for you shall worship no other God, for the Lord's name is whose name is jealous, which is crazy. That's kind of weird in itself. I hate to tell you, but in Egypt, there was multiple gods that pretty much made into one God. Each one of us are gods, believe it or not. We are little gods. It says that in the Bible as well, that we are all ye are little gods. So for that to say what it says in there is a contradictory, because how can you be a jealous God if you're a merciful God? If you're a loving God, why should you even care about who God that you should follow? And that's some of the reasons why that's some tricky right there, because a lot of people don't know how to think, or they don't want to think. And that's the example that I provided in the very first beginning of the show, in terms of how people are conditioned to think a certain way without using common sense. Common sense should be used at all times, because that dictates and that gives you discernment of your own reality, so that you know who's telling you the truth and what's telling you the lie. Now, that one that you have, that 1:14, just basically indicates who or what color of the creator is. It's pretty much black. And you just read that verse, who in the world has woolly hair? I mean, I know I got ingrown hairs from time to time. I know that's TMI a little bit, but hey, that our hairs curl. We got a little circle in our hairs. That's woolly hair, pretty much, right? Your feet, pretty much. Mine is dark brown, so he describing me. So let us make God in our own image. Sounds like it's talking to me, so that's directed to me. So when you have these other Caucasians that's creating to their God, they actually praying to Serapis Christos. That's their God that they praying to. And guess what? Some of your church-going folks are praying to that same God. There's no, so you got Islam, they do Allah, that's pretty much the same as God, the creator. You have Buddha, which is us, basically, because Buddha has the big nose, the big ears, the big thick lips, similar to the Olmecs that you see in Mexico. If anybody travels, you can see the distinguish between the two. And on top of that, the black man is pretty much revered through the entire globe. I mean, everywhere you see, there's a phallus. There's a monument in D.C., there's a monument in the Vatican, a monument in France. There's a phallus that they call it the linga in Thailand. In Cambodia, there's also the phallus there. There's a goddess by the name of Naga. Y'all should look that up. NAGA is a good person. And did you know that every time that we call people niggas over here, it's not that it's a derogatory term. We actually pretty much invoking the NAGA goddess to pretty much destroy the individuals that call us niggas. So that's the reverse of what they don't tell you about. So there's a whole hoax of things that people make it out to believe that it's the devil, when really, if you don't understand it, you're going to automatically call it the devil. In actuality, it means something different in other people's cultures. That's why when they came in, the Caucasian man made it out to believe that our own brothers and sisters sold us into slavery. When, again, that term, hey, let's get down, let me pay you some money, and if you give me 5 people out of your villages, one healthy, strong black man, I give you $100 for each man. And they shack them up in there, and you get the black man, and to make it look like they sold us out. When in reality, they're the ones that get onto the ship, take the slaves over here to America, and thus we have the slave trade. And by the way, the White Lion is the ship that first set sail over here to Port Comfort, which is now called Hampton, Virginia. And I would read you a script from Vanita Benitez, because I ended with her, and it's on your right to kind of read out what she did. And we have to honor that sister, because that lady, she did some really good things with the 1619 Incorporation and the National Freedom Day that's coming up next month. She was behind all of that. The 1619 actually was a group of people that got together to pretty much bring it out to the world. But yes, the slave trade was actually a false story. They, in the history schools, they made it look like it was 16 million people, when in reality it was only 3.5 million, 3.6 million Africans that came here. So the story of the slaves coming over here, oh man, well, if you want to make it look like Black Americans came from Africa, throw in the lie in the education system and make it look like that's what happened to them, so that they can believe that they weren't from America, when in reality, you actually are from America. And by the way, America is part of Africa. I just told you in the previous video that the tectonic plates are still connected from Florida over to America. From Florida to Africa. And as a result, those plates have not been broken. So there's a connection there, because it leads to, at one point, was originally connected as a whole and as one continent. And by the way, if you want to know and you're trying to figure out how does Florida connect to Africa, look at Morocco. I will explain that in just a moment and give you proof as to why America was not originally founded by Christianity. I will tell you where that came from. And I have the treaty to prove it, so that y'all can go out there and actually read for yourself. It's one of the oldest treaties still alive today. They have to renew it every 50 years. The Moroccan king has to come in and re-sign it to increase, to make sure that the peace treaty is still in existence today. It's still it's still active, even to this day. And by the way, before it was originally called king, it was called sultan. The sultan did it, and it's also written in the treaty. So I will explain that as well. Okay, moving on. I'm dropping, and the spirit is on me today. Okay, let's see. What else I have. So you pretty much, I probably won't go down that road in terms of the incarceration and in terms of why there's so many black men in prisons. I mean, if you look at it, every time that we come together as a people, unity, it's always that Caucasian man coming in there trying to break things up. We had the Black Panther Party over here. We had Malcolm X, very good brother. You had Khalid Muhammad. I really do like that brother too. He spit some words. I miss him, but I think that he was killed by unknown, whatever. Khalid Muhammad was a really good brother. I wish I could have known him more. You have Professor Griff, so forth. And every time they create this agency called the Central Intelligence Agency, because if they want to go ahead and destroy the Black culture, if they want us to be divisive, what do? They roll in the drugs from the Hillary Clintons and the Bill Clintons through Arkansas. You read that story because there's a documentary about that in terms of how the drugs got into America. The CIA hired these two individuals, funneled them drugs from Mexico into America, and got everybody on crack, cocaine, and so forth, shooting up each other. That's how the black on black crime started. So they do all of this. They spend millions upon millions of dollars trying to devise us, and they still doing it. So, you got, I've already talked about Hollywood in terms of how they dress, these black men, how they feminize them. They even doing it through the vaccines. I won't go there because the vaccines was actually feminizing these young boys now. That's why you're not getting these Mandinkas or these warriors, to become the men that you want them to be. It's the vaccines. It's in there. So, let's see here. Anybody gone to a DMV? I'm pretty sure everybody, most of us have. If anybody is a blood donor, little did you know, every time you volunteer being a blood donor, you're pretty much informing the corporation that you are pretty much can be killed at any moment just to steal your organs, and they take your organs and put it on the black market. So that's something that you might want to pay attention to. And then one person on the previous video asked, is taking your DNA good? I did some homework and found out that the DNA portion is not completely accurate. So who knows? Maybe I am from Nigeria. I mean, I have an ancestry in Nigeria. But one thing I'm fully aware of, it doesn't matter where I come from, because believe it or not, we all tied to Africa anyway. So does it really matter where I come from? Because I have melanin, you have melanin, you my brother, you my sister. That's all that matters. It shouldn't matter where, where the ancestry is. Just know that you come from a big landmass called Africa, which I'm gonna get into later on with the original name. I hope I'm not losing you. So.
Yeah, you're not losing. We're good.
Okay. So there's a movie called Soylent Green of 1973. It talks about the melanin, how they extract for your organs and stuff, and how they use your melanin for other purposes, like the NASA shuttle and the tires that you drive on the car and everything. All that came from melanin. That's all melanin. That's what they use it for. I brought up the thing about the melatonin in the previous video, how they got a group of Rwandas together, and they pretty much massacred a whole bunch of Rwandan citizens in that country, and pretty much grind them up and put them into. They extracted the melanin, the pineal gland, and they extract the pineal gland into this melatonin because the Caucasians are having problems going to sleep, obviously. So they have to create this artificial pill so that people can go into a dream state. It's not meant for a black person to take the melatonin, because if you do, you actually get nightmares for a period of time, or hallucinations. So if anyone ever think about wanting to take those, I wouldn't recommend it. I heard that alcohol is really good, even though they think it's bad. Anything that the church says is bad is actually good. If anything is good that you think that the church is saying, it's actually bad. So always think in reverse. If they tell you it's bad, it's actually good. So that's how the creator responds. And that, again, you're conditioned to think what the Caucasian man think, because that's how they think. You don't want to be what they, how they think. I know that someone mentioned about being, Hebrews, hey, you're either Hebrew Israelite or you're a Hebrew. Yes, I'm fully aware that, most Americans in this country are considered Hebrews because we are the chosen ones of God. We have our Latinos that are our brothers. That's part of they one tribe. You have the Indians, that's another tribe. You have some other cultures in there. So pretty much we all make up the 13 tribes of you know what, but the Judah, 13 tribes of Levi and all those places of God. But that really doesn't matter because if you have the melanin, you're already a chosen one anyway. I mean, you right now people are so I see that one that says Latinos are not related. Well, some people beg to differ because, believe it or not, they still are brothers and sisters. There's intermarriages. Little did you know that a lot of brothers were actually forced into becoming Caucasian when they come to this country. I'm gonna provide some videos in the notes. You can actually go online right now. You can type up James Smalls, Professor James Smalls, and he will give you a lecture about that info. There's another brother there that speaks about how when he was migrating to America, how he was actually forced to become a Caucasian person when he's actually straight up Black. And the reason for all of this is they're trying to pretty much bring up the numbers of the Caucasian race because they know it's a decline since the 1960s. They want to make it out to believe that they're not a dying culture, but in reality, there's a lot of minorities in this country that's pretty much overwhelmingly consuming this big landmass that we call as America, and that's one of the reasons why they're trying to market the interracial marriages now. The problem is it still creates a little bit of a division because that child is trying to determine if he's Black or white. When in reality, it's ultimately the choice, and wherever that person decides. Based off the color of his skin, because that's what Caucasians see, it's a programming from that point. And then, the child is actually growing up not wondering or not knowing, what their true ancestry is. So this thing is all over the place. I mean, the Caucasian man done a really good job by doing what he did to disrupt the harmony of this planet, all the way down to just to the animals and so forth, because there's even animals that's pretty much destroyed thanks to this Caucasian man. Okay, so moving on. So this is a big one, because and by the way, these are all programming from the Caucasians. This is what he has to do to distract you from the actual truth as to how he was created. You already know how he was created in the previous, but right now what I'm doing is providing you these different facets as to how he created this reality that you see today and how he keeps distracting you from what's really going on. So, of course, most Christians just celebrated Christmas and Halloween. You already know that, or you don't know, Halloween is pretty much these are all pagan holidays. Halloween is merely celebrating Satan. Pretty much you put on a mask, something scary or whatever, and it's always something that you want to be like instead of being yourself. And if you have to put something that's scary to get some candy, then I don't know what to tell you. Little did you know, that night is the same night that they actually take children. You got these handlers that go out and they look for these children and they pick them up and they God knows what they do to them for what they call as adrenochrome. Adrenochrome. I might be pronouncing that wrong. Type that up on Google. You'll see what I'm talking about. I'm not going to give you any more information beyond that because it makes me upset to hear what they do to those children. For that. And what you see in Hollywood right now is pretty much the end result as to why it needed to burn down in the first place. So, of course, Christmas is a false holiday. These are all pagan holidays. Jesus was not born on the 25th. Nobody knows how he was born anyway. And if you look at your Bible today, do you even see anywhere in the Bible that he was born on the 25th of December? Matter of fact, let me go this way. How do you know? What do you know? Actually, this is a good question to put this. How was Jesus born? See, a lot of people say, oh, he was born through the Father. How was he born? Oh, well, it was the Holy Spirit that conceived the child and he did. That's not my question. See, a lot of people beat around that question because they know the answer. They don't want to tell you because cognitively, they were programmed to say these things, but they know deep down inside that Jesus was actually born from a woman, not a man. Everything comes from a woman. The woman is what gives life. See? But, hey, these Christians swear they know everything. But they know deep down inside that truthfully, that's the truth. And they don't want to believe the truth because they're scared that they might get hit by a bolt of lightning. Oh, that's blasphemy. That's blasphemy. No, it's not blasphemy. It's common sense. So, and that's what God gave you, common sense to discern. Valentine's Day is another one. Everybody likes that in chocolates, If you look at the Donahue show versus Frances Welsing, she talks about Valentine's Day slightly in that show. She was way before her time. Honor to that sister. She really did a good job. She was way before her time. She talked about the psychological aspects of Caucasian and how they need chocolate to pretty much survive, which is kind of funny, but it's a metaphor. And Caucasians took it like they were pretty much, offended by what she said. And she was just trying to talk. She's trying to create an open dialogue. And that happened in the late 80s, I think it is, 80s. It happened in the late 80s. So go check it out. Type up on YouTube, Frances Cress Welsing.
Repeat again. I type what?
Yep.
Repeat that name.
Frances is spelled Frances. Cress, CRES, Welsing, WELSING. And then Donahue.
Okay.
Donahue is a very evil person. Little than most people know about Donahue. And we take a lot of these celebrities for granted because, believe it or not, y'all pray to idols right now and don't even realize it. Oh, Denzel Washington. But yet Denzel Washington somehow gets a Medal of Freedom. I'm going to leave that out. Let y'all figure that out. You got Magic Johnson and everybody else getting all these Medal of Freedoms. What did they do behind the scenes? But y'all love these guys. Y'all pray to them. You got Michael Jordan. He got those Michael Jordan shoes. Everybody want to get an Air Jordan, and then you have that cross around your neck. That's hypocrisy too. But hey, what did I know? I'm going to keep moving. So I got there, talked about that. In order for a child to be born, you need a sperm, right? How in the world can a child be conceived? What woman do you know conceives without sperm? I mean, hey, if I could tell me what woman can be born without sperm, then hey, because, that's the purpose of mutual infertilization. You got that. You still need sperm to pretty much do what the woman needs to do so that she can give birth. So, a man can't, has to give sperm in order for life to be created. And this is where we are. So let's see. I already talked in the previous show that they X out the woman, man, son, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. I know in Kemet, in my tours around Kemet. Kemet is basically Egypt, by the way. That's the original term before Egypt became Egypt, just so that you folks know. And even on the walls, it says KMT. The E's didn't exist back at the time, but it was later on down the line that they added the E's. Thus, the name Kemet is what came out to play. They actually had on the walls, Isis is the Greek name, obviously, but her real name is Aset. She pretty much was with Osiris, that everybody is fully aware of that name. That's still a Greek name. His original name was Asar. He's the god of the underworld. So if everybody wants to know where you're going to go toward heaven, you have to go through the judgment hall, and your heart is weighed against a feather. You have to have all of these confessions, and I will go there too, because you need to understand, where did the 10 Commandments derive from? I'm going to give you that in just a moment, if we get to it shortly. But believe it or not, all over Kemet, they had the Father and the Son, and for some reason, some butthole, it could be a Christian, whatever you want to call them, because they even plastered this crap, making it look like Christianity was the oldest. When in reality, if you look at the way the writing, the Metu Neter was actually written on the walls, I mean, accurately created by our own ancestors. I mean, I'm like, how did they do it? They got these tools. I don't know what tools they use, but it's just amazing of the writings on the walls. I mean, you're literally looking at the Bible on the walls. But the Father, Son, and someone put an X on the woman, on our set. They hate this woman for some strange reason. I don't know why. Oh, I know why. She's one of the most beautiful women in Egypt. She was revered along with Hathor, Nefertari, Nefertiti, and so forth. Little that you know, there was a woman, I might be going off the rails just slightly, Hatshepsut. You should read, type that up. Pharaoh Hatshepsut was a woman that ruled Egypt. Check it out. She had a kingdom. She had a couple of men, that she was mingling with, and pretty much, and she was a very powerful goddess. No different from Yoruba, you got the Orishas, you got the Yemiya, you got those. I mean, we had women all over the place. I mean, hey, I'm going to give you a little secret. In my book, I actually put the queen that was ruling California at the time years ago. California used to be Mexico, but somehow became part of the United States. And it was actually a queen called Queen Calafia. Type that up. You'll know that it was a group of Amazon women running that. The women that you see on Black Panther, with the women with the spears and stuff. They had that. Xena is another one. That Xena show, that if anybody go back, I might show them my age a little bit, but that's where the derivative of these shows came from. Queen Calafia, spelled C-A, just like California, but F-I-A at the end. And you'll see this sister with all these Amazonian women, tall women, ruling California at a time. I think they ruled for about 300-400 years, if I'm not mistaken. But yes, read that. Read up on these queens. There was powerful queens back at the time. But getting back to my original point, yes, you had a lot of Christians that would come down there in Egypt, and they would X up this woman. They literally put an X on Aset's face and just call it the Holy Ghost. I laughed at because they can't cover it up. And one thing about the Egyptians, right, the ancient Comedians, they make sure they put the same story in almost every temple. So, let's say if you go to the Temple of Luxor and you go to the Temple of Philae, which is where Aset's temple is, by the way. you'll see that the story will still continue from the previous story of the last temple, and it would just repeat it and then give you some more information. So that's the beauty of our ancient ancestors, because they knew that these Europeans was going to come down there and pretty much deface the walls and do all this stuff, and then that's the end of it. So they can't ever wipe out what the ancient ancestors did, because they have done a marvelous job by maintaining the knowledge on these walls so that you have enough time to go down there and visit yourself. Then you can compare it to the Bible and see if what you read in the Bible is similar to what you saw in the Kemet. And you can actually say, okay, maybe I'm giving a second thought on the Bible. And I'll explain a little bit about that Bible in just a moment. Let me keep going. Let's see here. So I said that how the woman is the Holy Spirit. So that's the true Trinity that's going on, because it's always Father, Son, and woman. Okay, so let's see. I got that. Talked about that. Okay, so it was another question previously in your last video. It talked about how man was created. Let us make a man out of our own image. Well, the person was correct about the clay, because it is actually found in the Bible today about how man was created by clay. And it was the god Khnum in Egypt that made human beings from clay. So if you want to know how the derivative distinguishes between how man was created, look at the god Khnum. It's Khnum. And when you get these notes, I've actually provided the links so that you can actually go there yourself and you can look them up and you can see what this individual looks like so that you can get an idea. And by the way, the god in Egypt is called Ra. God has many names. It's not just Yahweh, Yehoshua. It's not just God with the big letters. It's also Ra and Allah and a few others. So all of that is pretty much the same creator, the universe that we pray to. So I mentioned about the treaty. I'm going to read to you the Treaty of Tripoli. This is the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the United States of America and the Bey and the subjects of Tripoli of Barbary. Article 11 of the treaty states, as the government of the United States of America is not in any sense founded on Christian religion, as it has in itself no character of enmity against the laws, religious, or tranquility of Mussulman, and as the states never had entered into any war or act of hostility against Mohammedan nation. It is declared by the parties that no pretext arising from this religious opinion shall ever produce an interruption of harmony existing between the two countries. And that is the 1797 Treaty of Tripoli. Look that up. You can read Article 11 and you can see it written for yourself. It's also in Arabic, written by the Sultan at that time. And that's how you know that Florida was connected to Morocco. Before it was called America, it was called Al-Maroc. Some call it Al-Kuluban, or it's A-K-L-U-B-A-N, before it was actually called Africa. And the only reason why it's called Africa is by this guy by the name of Leo Africanus, I think it is. Leo Africanus initially visited North Africa at the time, and just because he visited one country out of that land mass that we call Africa today, he just decided to make the whole country call it in Africa. And then obviously the countries, their names are also not original as well. So Kenya is not what it was called Kenya back then. It was called something else. Ethiopia was called something else, so forth and so forth. Some have called it Amaru, and then Amaroka. And thus came the word America. That's the derivative. Some actually said that America is a corruption of Amen Ra-Ka. Amen Ra-Ka. So, yes. So also I want to tell you a little bit about America. There was a, let's see how way I can put this. I don't know if you understand the Louisiana Purchase and how it was actually illegally sold to this America that we call America today. Back then, it was actually, there was a land grant owned by the Washita tribe. It's actually, the documentation of this tribe is located in National Archives in Washington, D.C. You can actually obtain that. And at the time, these Washington people actually created the mounds that we see today. They were also responsible for some of the Olmecs. There's a connection between the Olmecs in Mexico and this tribe as well. And basically, they derived from those places in Egypt, and they came here in this country, and they wanted to build pyramids in America, and we call them mounds here for just to kind of cover it up, just to make it look like, it kind of thwarted the Caucasian man from thinking that that's actually not what it is, but it's actually a pyramid here in America. And there's lots of them throughout the entire globe. China has over 30 of them in itself, but they block people from actually visiting these places. But some people manage to go there, fly drones, and you can actually see what they look like in China. But there's pyramids all over the world, including Mexico. Mexico, I really do like Mexico because especially in the Veracruz area, I actually want to go back and visit. There's a lot of our brothers and sisters down there. They are asking more of us to come because, obviously they're not getting the proper funding for tours to go down there. So you have to kind of independently go down there and look at it for yourself. But yes, there's mountains all over the place. Stone Mountain, Georgia. I mean, some in Oklahoma, all over Texas. There's some in Texas. There's some all the way in Missouri and Colorado and those places all the way up there. And these are mounds. Some are small, some are large, some are medium size, but they are basically pyramids. If you look at the Supreme Court ruling, if anybody don't believe it, look at the 1848 U.S. Supreme Court ruling case, United States government versus the heirs of Henry Turner, aka Tunica, Tunica. It was just a neutral strip of 2.9 million acres of land back in 92, basically. Land the state of Louisiana. There's a land grant number of 923/1991, and it was designated called the Washita proper. And you can actually look at that grant. I provide some links for you so you can take a look at that. The Treaty of Camp Holmes. If you want to know where the Creek, the Cherokee, the Kamate, and all those other tribes, I think it's 5 of them, they are derivative of the Washita tribe. They pretty much are underneath of that. I'll provide a link for that too as well, which is very interesting because now I know where the Cherokees and stuff come from, the Muskogees and so forth. That's a very good, interesting. There's you should read about her, the Empress Verdice. I might be pronouncing her name wrong. It's Verdiacee. You can type her up on there and you can look at what she looks like. She's a Moor, and she pretty much originally owned the land of the Louisiana Purchase. She is the direct lineage of Tunica, Henry Turner, and there was someone else there as well. Big connection between her and Noble Drew Ali, so that's another big connection there too as well. You can look that up. And let's see, some people might define America as Aboriginal, which basically means it's a copper color of natives found in American continents. by the Europeans. There was talk about when Christopher Columbus came over here that he had a journal. Some guy that was writing the journal, I forgot his name. He described what he saw when he first arrived into the New World, and he wrote in his journal that he saw these black natives on this land, indicating that there are natives well before the slave trade even existed. So that's proof there too as well. You can look that up for yourself. Again, I provide the land patent link for that. The Tunica tribe is now recognized as Cushman, which is pretty much the same in Ethiopia, Sudan, in those places like that. They still have Cushite people there still residing in Egypt. It's a shame that the Egyptian government has pretty much severed ties with these group of people because they didn't want them to make any money, but the village is still there in Aswan, Egypt. Get the book called The Return of the Ancient Ones. There you will actually see the grant in that book, and she will give you more deeper understanding of what the Washita is. And believe it or not, the Washita people had some tribesmen that were Moroccan at the time. They were Moroccan Americans. That's the reason why you had the treaty, because some of the Moroccans at that time under the Sultan rule had actually resided here in America, thus creating the Moors that you see today as the Washita people. And there was a few people in there that had the last name Washington in there. And little did I know, I spoke in the last video that George Washington had slaves, and believe it or not, among those slaves, there were maybe one or two people that was improperly enslaved by this guy, and he took on the name Washington from the slaves. It was actually originally Wessynton, I think it is. And he named his estate by his original name before he actually changed the name to Washington, thus the word George Washington that we see today. Now, also during the time, he was a general before he became president. And while he was a general, there was a brother by the name of John Hanson. He became the first Black president of the continental America before it was called United States at the time. So, and there was 14 other presidents behind him before George Washington was officially the first president. And then you had Abraham Lincoln and so forth. Speaking of Abraham Lincoln, I actually provide a video about Abraham Lincoln. There was another brother that did some homework, and he found that Abraham Lincoln had some Black people in his family. And I think it was called Africanus at the time. He pretty much provided some details in terms of how he was able to be around these group of people and how he was born. And there was some talk back then that he had Black people in his family, but he kind of didn't want to let nobody know about it. So believe it or not, he is a brother. And believe it or not, he became president, thus releasing the slaves. Now, I did say back in a previous video that he wasn't quite the abolitionist per se, but he was a great emancipator. So this video will kind of give you more intel, more detail in terms of what his life was like back at the time when he was running this country. And I haven't talked about the Mayans much because Mayans pretty much intermarried with the Africans at that time. They had some, believe it or not, some Nigerians and other cultures that came to Mexico, and they intermingled with the races, and they were able to grow their culture from that point. So, I mean, that's the reasoning why you had the Olmecs. They try to make the Olmecs out to believe it's Mexicans, but we already know Mexico is not the original name anyway. It was called New Spain, and Texas was once Mexico as well. So there's a lot of things in the geography that people need to understand what life was like before the continents became the continents that you see today. Um, you don't, there's in 1870, there was the first African Americans that were elected House of Representatives. They were three of the four congressman seats in South Carolina at the time. His name was Joseph Rainey, Robert DeLarge, Robert B. Elliott, and I'm missing one. I forgot the last one. But you should look them up as well. They were the first Black Republicans who pretty much held the seat in the House of Representatives. That's something to look at. If I'm going too fast, let me know.
You're okay. You're going good.
So I told you before that Benjamin Banneker helped design Washington, D.C. I provided a link on that where he was an actual Moor. He has a fez. If you type it up, Benjamin Banneker designed Washington, D.C. on Google, you might be able to see his fez that's in a museum, and it literally has his name on it, indicating that he was a Moor at the time. Moor. Some people call it Muur. Some people call it other names, but ultimately it's still the same, Moor. Let's see. Now, I'm going to read you some things on the. You can do this yourself. Look up the 7 universal laws, and you can look at the laws that the universe has pretty much is in harmony. It was brought by the Moors when they left Africa. They had brought many other subjects as well into the world, thus making the subjects that we see today as mathematics, science, history, geography, et cetera, even down to the calendars and how you tell time and so forth. I think I spoke to you about the Hermetic principles. You can just type that up too. Hermetic is spelled Hermetic, principles. You can look that up as well. Just Google it. I have a movie for you to watch. Since you have some people out there that want some entertainment. This talks about the Typhonium and Set, the Hyksos, and the created Caucasians. The movie is called Space Traders. There's an actual movie right on YouTube. You can look at it. You don't even have to go and pay for it. Just type up Space Traders. That's Traders, Traders. Might be, so that you look that up, and that's a good movie to watch. It talks about melanin a lot throughout that movie. So anybody that has common sense, you can actually kind of read between the lines. If anybody looked at the movie Lean on Me, you had Joe with the bet. His boss is in that movie. I forgot the brother's name, but his boss is in that movie. So good movie to watch for you to look at. I talked about germancy. I did not list the Caucasian abolitionists that was against the slave trade. They believe heavily that slavery should not exist and so forth. I got some names to give you. You can look at John Brown, Sarah and Angelina Grimmick, William Lloyd Garrison, Herseth Beecher Stowe, John Quincy Adams, Elizabeth Margaret Chandler, Lucretia Mott, Lydia Maria Child, Abby Kelly, and Abraham Lincoln, obviously. And then I'm going to give you some pictures about the Pharaoh, Seti I, and how they built the museum. I even going to provide you Ramo Mart, where the brother actually speaks Khmer language, the Metu Netter. He also knows how to read it, and he actually has a clothing line. He's on Instagram. Just type up Ram Omart, Ramomart, and that brother is very knowledgeable. He's based out in New York. He even paints. So if anybody wants a painting, a commission done or something like that, you can reach out to that brother on Instagram. and he will get you going. He also has a LinkedIn page. He goes by the name of Omar Buckley. That's Omar Buckley, Buckley, and you'll come up on LinkedIn and you can see what it looks like, and he can describe to you what he does. Now, I mentioned to you about the Bible. James Stewart the First is the actual name of King James. And there's proof of that at the royal.uk website, where how James Stewart the First was actually commissioned. But he was behind the King James Bible that you see today. Little that most people know, and most Christians don't want to know most of it, because they swear up and down that King James is a Christian man and he does no wrong. He was an actual homosexual. He actually had he kept it a big secret between him and Shakespeare. And I didn't believe it at first, but then when I read into it, it was in Psalms 46. It read that he was at the age of 46. It was James Stewart the First that told him not to put his name in the Bible. He did it anyway by putting shake as the first word, 46 words down. He wrote spear at the end of it. So basically, he made himself known in the Bible that he was actually playing a role in that. And obviously, if anybody saw Othello, he put some of his pieces in the Bible there. And then if anybody look up the phonetic, I might be pronouncing that wrong, sorry. The English alphabet, the letter J, we just typed it up and you can see that the J didn't exist until the 16th century. So how was Jesus born back in the 300 AD if the letter J didn't exist until the 16th century? So I cracked the thing on there. I have some Bible verses. I just picked these because obviously, when they talk about the Son of God, everybody's thinking S-O-N, when in reality it's talking about the actual sun that shines on this planet that you see today. Malachi 4:2, but for who you fear my name, the Son of Righteousness will rise with healing in its wings. Talking about Kephara, that's the one I just described, with the wings and the sun in the middle. You will go forth and skip about the light calves from the stall. So he's talking about Ra at that. And that came from the Book of the Dead. I think it's called Ecclesiastes. These big long names. 1 verses 5. The sun also ariseth, and the sun goeth down, and haseth to his place where he arose. Revelation 22:5. And there shall be no night there, and there need no candle, neither light of the sun, for the Lord God giveth them light, and they shall reign forever and ever. Psalms 19:1. The heavens declare that the glory of God, the skies proclaim the work of his hands. Genesis 1:16 through 18. God made two great lights, the greater light to govern the day and the lesser light to govern the night. Psalm 84:11. For the Lord God is a sun and shield. The Lord gives grace and glory. No good thing does withhold from those who walk uprightly. So these are just mere examples. One is another one that I really like, Psalm 84:11. The Lord God is a sun, S-U-N, and shield. Interesting. So if you want to know where I got these verses from, just go to BibleGateway.com and they'll actually pull it up. That's where I got those verses from. Moving on. So I have one about I spoke in the previous video briefly about the electromagnetic sounds. In these notes that I'm going to give you, Kenyon, did you know that each planet in the solar system makes electromagnetic sounds? Just go to NASA, type up NASA electromagnetic sounds, and just type up Jupiter, for example, and you will actually hear the electromagnetic sound from Jupiter. And ultimately, the reason why you hear these sounds is because every star, every planet, every nebula gives off electromagnetic sounds in harmony with God. That is your music. That is your horns. That's what you hear in the heavens. That's what that is. So proof of that is in there. Even yourself, you actually make a sound, don't even realize it. That ringing in the ear that you get every once in a while is based off your electromagnetic activity with your auric field. I just explained to you in a previous video that if you put your arm against the sun and you look at the hair follicles of your hairs, you look at the hair follicles of your arm, you would look at the auric field in your follicles. It will give off various colors, and those are just reflections of your chakras that's within your body. So that's the harmony. Those are the frequencies. And by the way, each chakra gives a very frequency. Type up the word solfeggio scale. That's how music was music. SOLFEGGIO, I think it is. Type up solfeggio scale and type up chakra, CHAKRAS. Each chakra gives off a frequency. And once all of those align, you actually give off an actual sound to the universe. You actually praising to God doing that. Once they're open, if they're not open, they can spin backwards. That's what actually causes cancer and various diseases in your body, is when it's spinning backwards. In order to heal thyself, you have to listen to that particular frequency that chakra is connected to in your organs in order for you to repair what was damaged in your body. So it's called solfeggio scale. And you can look it up on YouTube, and you can heal thyself. Let's see. I'm spitting out a lot of information here. So I'm going to read negative confessions. I'm going to just read maybe 2 or 3 of them because I'm not sure about the timing. I have not committed sin. I have not committed robbery with violence. I have not stolen. I have not slain men or women. I have not stolen grain. I have not pilfered offerings. I have not stolen the property of God. I have not uttered lies. I have not carried away food. I have not uttered curses, meaning people that talk behind your back, saying all kinds of smack, gossiping, etc., etc. I have not committed adultery. I have not lain with men. Interesting. Did no homosexuality there? Let's see. I have made none to weep. I have not eaten the heart. I have not attacked any man, meaning if you fought another brother for no apparent reason, that's committed a sin. You're not supposed to lay your hands on someone unless you're being threatened or provoked. That's the only exception. I am not a man of deceit. I have not stolen cultivated land. Interesting. What group of people goes around stealing people's land? Okay, I have not been an eavesdropper. I have not slandered. I have not been angry without just cause. I have not debauched the wife of any man. Meaning you're going around sleeping with other wives when they are already married. I have not repeated that. I have not polluted myself. Basically, you drunkard, you drink too much, you smoke, do drugs, stuff like that. That's what they mean. I have terrorized none. I have not transgressed, meaning are you a righteous person? Are you not a righteous person? I have not shut my ears to the words of truth. I have not blasphemed, meaning if you talk against the Creator, meaning if you dispel whatever truths that I gave you and you don't believe it, I just said back then that belief is just something you think of, something that you don't know. But if you know and you speak against it, or you call out that person's name, or you call out God, that's basically blasphemy. I am not a man of violence, meaning do you kill? That's where that commandment comes from. Thou shalt not kill. But yet, man can go around kill anybody who he wants and receives no karma for it. Bet you think on that too. I have not been to stir up strife. I have not acted with undue haste. I have not pried into matters. All of these come from the negative confessions of the Book of the Dead. Now, when people see the word dead, they automatically think, oh man, I don't want to look at no dead people. No, they're talking about people like who are dead in the head, meaning they don't have any knowledge and they're looking for it. They're looking for salvation. And that's the purpose of the Book of the Dead. It's dead. That is your Bible to understand how life works. So it's called Negative Confessions, Book of the Dead. You can actually look it up on Google, and you might go to a site called the Sacred Books or something like that. And it actually has all these books out there for you to read, even the Acropolis. A lot of the missing books are there on that website. You can read it there. You don't have to pay for them. It's there, right online. So I'm not going to talk there. I'm going to read something from Diop because someone mentioned about Diop. I really do like Diop. I also like Dr. Henry Clark. Those two brothers are really good to listen to. I did mention Professor James Smalls. He's a nice brother to actually get some of his lectures. Good scholarship there. There was one thing that came out to me. All Semitics, parentheses, Arabs and Jews, are mixed breeds of black people and whites. The Arab race cannot be conceived as anything but a mixture of blacks and whites. The entire Arab people, including the Prophet, are mixed with Negro blood. That was written by C.A. Diop. The mixing of these Caucasians and Aboriginal black inhabitants of Western Asia resulted in what we call Semitic people, which literally means semi-white, semi-black. And if you just go online, you can type up the origins of the term white people. It's on YouTube. You can look that up. I know this is kind of off. I was trying to figure out how I can put this in my notes, but the Spirit just came to me and just said, do it for no apparent reason. And I went on here and just did what the Spirit says because, hey, one person did ask, hey, can you talk about world geography just a little bit more and some of the works that we did? There's a brother by the name of Damo, D-A-M-O, who brought Kung Fu and Buddhism to China. That's in part 11. You can go on YouTube and type Damo, D-A-M-O, a black man named Damo brought Kung Fu and Buddhism. So you're trying to figure out how this works. I can give you a backstory on that. Damo was a brother that came from India at the time. It was initially called Africa. India was part of Africa at that time. It was years ago. He decided to take a journey toward the east, and he wanted to mimic the movements of animals while he was, in his path. And by the time he was able to come up with these movements, he put it in his journal, and he went into China to become a Shaolin monk. He was the first brother and the founder of Shaolin Temple. This brother named Damo. And Michael White speaks a lot about him. You already, I don't know if you're aware, but Dynamite is a good movie in honor to Damo. And that's the cartoon and the actual movie itself. So yes, that one, that brother. So you probably wondering where the martial arts come from. It actually comes from Egypt too. It was written in the walls. You just type up karate Egyptian and you'll see the actual the various moves that these Egyptians have done back then as part of their military to combat these Europeans from taking over their land. So getting back to the Christmas thing, I want to give you a link. You can just type up Dr. Ray Hagen's Why They Gave Us Christmas. That's on YouTube. You can look that up. Christmas is a mental illness. It's pretty much nobody knows the significance behind it. So Dr. Ray Hankins pretty much drops it in there in his lecture and tells you about that. Um, I told you about how Christos was created. That formulates Jesus that you see today. Um, let's see. Mm, I'm thinking. So I left out while I was talking about um, Christmas. The original holiday was called uh, Saturnalia, this festival of Saturnalia. And it always begins on the 17th, where slaves no longer become slaves. They actually uh, be in reverse. Um, they give gifts and so forth, and thus that's how Christmas became Christmas. It came from the festival of Saturnalia. Look that up. That's also interesting. That blew my mind when I saw that. Um, where is it in the Bible? New Roman Catholic Encyclopedia. New Roman Catholic Encyclopedia, Volume 3, page 656, states the date of Messiah's birth is not known. And that was in that book. Um, so Christmas was banned in 1695 initially. In one country, Charles II restored it. June 1870, Christmas became a federal holiday. That's where the holiday became the holiday. Was 1870, and pretty much the pagans are void of spirit. Look up the term "What is Christianity" by Dr. Ray Higgins. You can type that up on YouTube. You can look at that lecture as well. Um, you have to understand what is binding you. Religious teaches you to hate, which is true. Religion actually teaches you how to hate yourself. When you adopt a God that is not your own image, when you embrace the literature that teaches you to hate yourself and love your enemy and the oppressor, and the Savior of God or enslaver are in the same. They are one in the same. You become the principal agent in your own destruction. And that was actually very interesting. I talked about Alexander the Fake. Let's see. Um, the sellouts that I was talking about during the Ptolemy days, it was called Soter, Soter, is the name, and it means savior. That's where the word savior comes from. Um, Basically, he was not accepted. A lot of the Egyptians was like, no. This is just to reemphasize what I said. Um, the Alexander the Great took on the name Asar Apis, which means Osiris bull, and they actually tied the names together and call it Serapis. That's where the terminology comes from. And then the Vatican today, his title is called Victor Serapis, which is also another one. So look that up too as well. Let's see. Okay. Did you know that Ptolemy V, as part of his rituals, you want to know when you do that communion, hey, you want to break bread and you drink that grape juice that they had stored in that basement for 3 or 4 months, and it gets old when they give it to the churchgoers, and it's supposed to signify the blood of Christ, giving, relieving you from all your sins. Well, that came from Ptolemy V. Athenians was attached to the Serapis drinking blood and eating flesh ritual. It was a ritual being done by the Catholic Church to deceive the world, to make you believe that it's actually the Lord's Supper. And that was interesting too. Okay, let's see. I'm going to take a little break. Give me about 2 minutes. My laptop is actually going, my battery, so I got to get the power adapter. So I'm giving you a little bit of 5 minutes so that you can breathe a little bit, but the best is yet to come. Could you give me a moment?
Okay. Thank you, Nubian King. Thank you. all of you who are here, Adora, Medusausi, Adora, Medusausi, Nubian King, all of you, Golden Boy. Wow, a lot of knowledge here.
Yes, there are a lot of knowledge, man. I hope that you have captured most of the knowledge from Chief Zulu. So, yeah, we need to learn, Mr. Beast, Kenyan Beast. We need to learn and learn. And this is something that, this is a great channel actually. And this is also a great lesson from what we learn from Caucasians. So let's wait for Chief Zulu. Meanwhile, as we wait for Chief Zulu, what have you learned, Kenyan Beast?
I have learned a lot of things, but before I tell you what I've learned, Golden Boy is a YouTuber, and you may consider going to his YouTube channel, Golden Boy YouTube channel, and subscribe to his YouTube channel because he's doing an amazing job too. Now, first of all, I have learned about Christmas. You know, I've been hearing about Christmas is evil. Christmas is not, I knew that Jesus was not born on that date, but since I was young and we are Africans, and this religion was brought, or this we call what? This thing of celebrating Christmas every 25th of December. Myself, I don't celebrate Christmas because I see it does not have an impact to me. But when we were young, we celebrated this thing, like you could even cry when they don't buy for you new clothes. Me and my brother and my sister having these clothes that is matching. We have balloons everywhere in the house. But I have learned that about Christmas. I learned about where racism started, and I have a lot of questions in my mind too, because I've learned about the Holy Spirit is a woman. I don't know, is a woman or was a woman. So there's a lot I'm learning too. Nubian King is commenting here, and I'm still learning from him, So I'm learning a lot. What have you learned, Golden Boy?
So what you have learned is what I learned last year. Actually, this is my second time not celebrating Christmas. I know this is your first time celebrating Christmas. Me, I have not been celebrating Christmas, and there are a lot of things that I wrote down here that I hope that you also have them. Now, when it comes to this blood donor organ harvesting, King Zulu also emphasized on that, and then he talked about the space trade and even the Solvent Green. Those are the type of movies that people should go and watch. And as he said that Christmas was banned in 1865 or 1965. So these are things that are happening. Then another one is about letter J. Letter J never existed in 1860. So how did they come up with the word Jesus Christ? So in short, we as Africans, we are still behind. We are still lagging behind. And recently, I also learned about something here, that the more you go to a community, you find more churches. It is the more these people become are vulnerable, like they are very, very poor. So in a community where there's a lot of churches, there are many churches, there are many mosques. These community tend to have a poor lifestyle. That's it. That they don't have schools. The children are living in a bad way, and this is that something that I confirmed recently when I moved to my village, and it is actually true. It is actually happening. Another one is that you'll find that here in Kenya, you usually have problems when you celebrate Christmas, and I don't know if it has ever catched you that After celebrating Christmas, yes, you'll celebrate Christmas and you'll go for a long holiday. Then later, when we are celebrating New Year, which also may sound not true, when you're celebrating New Year, there are usually a lot of problems like school fees, many things, health problems. So I think this is something that is very, very cast. So yeah, let's welcome Ms. Chief Zulu.
I'm back. I'm back. Sorry about that. Didn't realize I didn't charge my laptop overnight, so forgive me about that. The last time when I talked, it was on my cell phone. But so far, no interruptions. A lot of times with video conferencing, we drop out in communication because it takes more data to kind of send, and that can stir up a lot of things. So hopefully, this makes it very clear for a lot of people. Um, I wanted to share a book that I personally have on my own, just to let you know that I do read a lot about the big landmass of Africa. I don't want to forget about this book. I actually cherish this book because it speaks a great deal of information. And if you actually go out there and try to find it, it's about $500 now. I mean, when I bought it, it was back in 2011, 2010, or something like that, when it was only a mere $15. But since I think the book might be out of print, you may be able to find it. But if you can find it, it's a treasure to have in your library. It's called The Religion of Yorubas, being an account of the religious beliefs and practices of the Yoruba people of the southern Nigeria. The way I took it, I put that in there. But it basically connects the Yorubas to ancient Egypt. And it's written by J. Uh, Alamide, that's Olumide Lucas. Now you can pretty much pull that up on your Google, and like I said, this book is probably worth $1,000 just because of so much content in there, so much proof in terms of how the Africans was able to take what they had in Egypt and pretty much migrated to these countries in Africa just to maintain them. No different from Mali and the Dogon tribe, and how what they took what they've learned and put them in on their walls and their journals. So that book is good to have. Now, I mentioned just a few great people. I know there's a lot of people like Dr. Because I know one person mentioned Dr. Ben. Yes, Dr. Ben was a really good one. He actually trained a brother by the name of Ashwa Kwesi. So if anybody ever want to go on a trip to Egypt and actually get the tours, because I actually personally went to his trip, very informative. Uh, and he actually reads the Metronetter. He's been doing this for well over 20 years. His name is Ashwa Kwesi. And the name of the website is called Kemet New. That's KEMETNU.com. And you can read a lot about him. And if you ever want to take a trip to the Egyptian tour, I recommend that brother because he has a great deal of knowledge. There's another brother that I also like to recommend. I actually do yoga on occasions from time to time, and this brother does Egyptian yoga. One is Mawada Ashby, and there's another brother that does the yoga skills in Chicago. If anybody's in the Chicago area, you just type up www.yogaskills.com, and you'll be able to see that he has a trip that he goes to Egypt, and he also trains people who want to do yoga. And it's not the typical yoga that you probably are aware of. It's Egyptian yoga, which is really nice. So basically, it's our version of Tai Chi, if you know what I mean. So check him out. Good DVD. And then there's another brother that I want to mention. His name is Dr. Renoko Rashidi. Just how it sounds. You just type him up. He has thousands of photos that he's taken from various different countries, showing the artifacts from ancient Kemet to various parts of the globe and how it ties right back to Kemet. He's, at the time, he would travel at least 20 times a year to visit these places. And yes, thank you, brother, whoever pointed it out. His name is Yashir Rahotep. Yes, that's the brother. I don't know him personally, but I have talked to him on occasions. Good brother to talk to, very knowledgeable if you ever want to get into Kemetic yoga. There's another brother that I do want to mention. I have my daughters going to homeschool now. It's a Kemetic school. It's called ISM by Dr. Phil Valentine. He has a school for not just young children for homeschool, but he also has school for adults where he actually teaches you how to speak the Metanetcha language. He also talks advanced sciences, advanced metaphysics, and so forth. And that's a brother that you want to probably reach out to as well if you want to enroll your child into a homeschool, or if you just want to personally learn some more information about Kemet. That's a brother that you want to talk to. And his lovely wife, Dr. Valentine, as well. She does some other things as well. Good people to know. You might want to reach out for that. So let's get back to it. The Adam and Eve story. This is where it's getting interesting. The Adam and Eve story. Where she gives the apple. The way they wrote the Bible, the Genesis version for Adam and Eve is kind of ridiculous because, if your butt is butt naked in the garden, and why would God allow Adam to roll in the garden if he knew that tree had a serpent in it, or he just appeared out the blue? Sometimes it makes you wonder, if God is actually testing Adam to see if he was going to actually do it, when if he created it and he doesn't have the experience to know that tree is bad, why even put him there in the first place? But that story actually came from Niti and Inky. Look up Dr. Ray Hagen's The Verdict is In, with a powerful video, and look up The Egyptian is the Source of the Bible by Dr. Ray Hagens. You look at those two videos, and you will see the Adam and Eve. And the actual story goes like this. I think it was Ramses II. He was trying to figure out how to run his kingdom, and apparently he was, very distraught in terms of how to proceed. And it was the goddess. I want to say it wasn't Hathor. I think it was called Nefertari at the time. That gave him the apple of knowledge from the tree of life, so that Ra can actually provide him the wisdom to show him how to run his kingdom. And he was able to drive out a lot of the Europeans that tried to invade the land by pretty much cutting their heads off. And that was actually described in the Ramses temple, showing you, and that's how the Ten Commandments was formed. If anybody saw the movie, it was Ten Commandments, and then I think it was called Ben-Hur, I think it was. That's where they got the concept from, was from that story. And thus they wrote it in the Bible to make it look like it was the Pharaoh who was chasing after the Jews. Once the Jews was, the water was divided and the Jews had to go through, and then was pretty much consumed by the waters. They made up that story. That is a false story. It's fake. that's interesting in itself. That's the decode on that. I mentioned about Vanilla Benitez. I'm gonna read something from her that she provided me some time ago, and when I wasn't prepared. It was regarding the National Freedom Day, and she wrote something here, a little small snippet. It's 20 and odd slaves from Angola. By the way, the first slaves arrived from Angola, and Angola to this day is actually reaching out to kind of have some sort of treaty between her and that country, because she went out her way to actually get the families together in Hampton that still live to this day. Some of their siblings um, pretty much was honored in Hampton, Virginia, recently. So that's a really good thing to look up to, because they don't describe that in history books. The 20 and odd slaves arrived in Virginia on a ship called the White Lion. This English privateer ship captured the enslaved Africans from a Portuguese slave vessel, the San Juan Bautista, and brought them to Port Comfort in Virginia in 1619. The key points: 20 odd slaves. The ship name was White Lion. The origins of the slaves they came from. They were captured by this Portuguese ship. So the White Lion was en route, but it was captured by this Portuguese ship, and that's what brought them here to Virginia for payment. So this so-called thing about Jamestown back in 1607, that was actually a false story. Um, that was also false. And little than most people know, if we want to go there, about Pocahontas, Pocahontas was black, a black native. And this Portuguese person saw how beautiful. No, it was Portuguese. It was this English man. I think it was called Adolf Roof, or something like that. It might be something, a different name. You can go out there and check it out yourself. But it was just this English man that saw how beautiful Pocahontas was. Took her to see Queen Elizabeth at the time, just to show to the Queen how beautiful this woman was, and how the natives were able to, invite them in and be more welcoming. And then, at one point in time, this English guy was trying to keep her there for a minute. She managed to go back to her tribe back in the States, but then somehow was brought back into England for a forced marriage, and then there she lies. So little did most people know, it was more exports from America into London than it was Africans coming into this country. There's information about that there as well, and that's the reason why you heard of this thing called breeding. There was a lot of breeding of slaves, and I don't want to, because I'm not sure if children is listening to this, but the term MF, they did a lot of that in Annapolis and Baltimore, and there was heavy breeding of slaves in those two areas, and that's as a result was actually that's how they grew a number of slaves into this country. It was in the millions, at that point, because they knew that we were great. We procreate a lot in our culture, so they took advantage of that and forced these people into slavery. So that's where that came from, with the millions of people that did, and they wind up being in the southern states, taking away the birthright because they didn't want us to know where we came from and so forth. So as a result, a lot of the Africans in Africa don't understand that there was an in-house slavery that was way more than the slave trade that actually existed. So that's the backstory on that. And this is the reason why Vanilla Benitez is shedding light on the situation, because the truth has to come out there. So you just go to nationalfreedomday.com, and you can look up more of her works there, and you'll be able to get a great deal of information. You can also I'm also going to provide some articles that she was interviewed by. Good sister to speak to. Go to blacknewsscoop.com and you just type up National Freedom Day, and you might find one or two articles. She initially started with writing a letter to the Queen because she wanted to get the crest back, get it returned back to her family because it was stolen. She's coming from a sort of a royal lineage. Um, and by her writing the letter, she was just trying to shed light to the truth that it was in England they stole a lot of things from the Moors. And by the way, you already know that the Moors ruled Europe for at least 700 to 800 years. Get the book, The Company of the Moors, which describes a little bit more in detail. You can also look at Ivan Serturma's book about the Moors, and it gives you a backstory on how Moors ruled Europe. So I've already talked about the origins of Mexico. It wasn't called Mexico, it was called New Spain. And the name of Africa that I was trying to pronounce, I'm going to spell it for you. It's called Alkebulan. That's Alkebulan. That was the original name before it was actually called Africa. And if you go to www.awaytoafrica.com, no-african-roots, you can hear the backstory on the origins of that name. And then I talked to you about Leo Africanus, how he named Africa. There's some YouTube videos on that. You can just type that up, Leo Africanus, exactly how it sounds. I will also be providing you some maps of Africa, what it was like back in the 13th century, the 12th and 13th century, so you can see the various countries of how it was before it split off to what we see as the 7 continents of the globe. Some people also need to look up the Peters projection. You can just type that in google.com. Just type up Peters projection, and you can see that Africa is the largest continent of the entire globe. And the only reason you can actually type it up on YouTube too. You might see a little segment in terms of what the bankers have done to make Greenland look bigger than what it usually is, how they made America to look bigger, just to shorten Africa, because the Caucasian man didn't want everybody to know that Africa is the largest continent. It pretty much consumes almost every continent, well, pretty much all continents on this globe. So they had to control the education system so that you would know that Africa is a major motherland. That's why you have the various different time zones in Africa today. Okay, let's see. So I wrote something for myself, just notes, something to think about. When this artificial being that most people take for granted, this is something that I created. It's going to get a little bit more heavy, so try to bear with me. This is something that you've been waiting for a minute, so let me just go ahead and spill it out. This is based off of my observation of Caucasians in terms of how they communicate and how they act toward other people. They want to get into your business. They do not want the masses to think. They treat the masses like they are children. If it's something they don't understand, they call it evil. They love to find the weakest link because ignorance can be controlled and manipulated. Keep their enemies close and be 1 or 2 steps ahead. Almost everything a Black man or Black woman invent or discover, they try to repeat it from their own perspective and get greater recognition for it. When you are around these people, most of them are like vampires. They zap your energy and they feed off of your negative vibrations. They hate it when you ignore them. They feed off of your limitations and your struggles. They created artificial intelligence because their lack intelligence, they get things done. So in other words, the artificial intelligence that they created today is a Caucasian person, and the way they think. Most Caucasian men's sexual drive for a woman is at least peaks at age 20, then dies down at 30. So for a black man, we go up to the age 90, and and we get plenty of sperm to give off to multiple women if we need to. But if you're with your married one, she will always be, receive the pleasure, and I'll just leave it at that. Most Caucasian men need Viagra because they lack stamina or they just simply don't have the melanin to keep it up. When you encounter them, you usually smell an animalistic stench, meaning, how can I put this? Oscar Myers is a good one to put it. If you ever around it and you be wondering, Dad, man, it smells like bologna. Where'd that come from? I actually had one that responded, oh my God, that's me. I'm sorry. Yeah, Oscar Myers. They smell like Oscar Myers. That's how you know. Most of them cannot go beyond their third chakra because they were artificially created. That is true. If you were created by the source, you wouldn't have no problem going above the third chakra, and you would have love in your heart, love for life, love for nature, instead of destroying everything that you see or try to take resources that's not yours. To be above the third chakra means that you have compassion for others. You love people. You love everything that the Creator has created for you. Let's see. Due to the lack of pigmentations in the eyes, they cannot take the full spectrum of the light from the sun, so they wear sunglasses. So you see a lot of Caucasian people wearing sunglasses when they drive because they don't have the pigmentation to withstand that light. So they just want to look cool to make it look like they're just driving. They've been programmed to think that it's a cool thing when in reality you're not getting the appropriate nutrients in your eyes so that you can put energy throughout your body. Due to the lack of melanin, their bodies are cooked, causing sun damage as their skin cannot absorb the light. That's true. Because if you look at the Caucasian person, they refract the light. They don't actually absorb the light like we do. And that's how they always say, when Joe Biden said we got to find another way to block the sun. How you going to block the sun? This ain't the Matrix. Let's see. When sexual contact is engaged in the bedroom, an odd essence lingers. I just leave you at that. When a black man and a black woman make love, due to their spiritual connection with each other, they create an aroma sensation to experience bliss for a time. So that means if you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're supposed to be feeling bliss. And believe it or not, when you, if you have any problems in your life, you make love to a woman, you can actually, because the woman is the one that's that gives, she's the creator, you can actually think about what you want to happen, and before you make love. I'm not just trying to be discreet, so because again, you never know who's listening. But you can pretty much ask the creator what you want before you make love, and then sometime later, things will actually happen. Another good way is if you write something down on a piece of paper. That's a ritual too. You just write what you want, describe how you want it, and then you can actually burn it in a candle fire, because fire is a spirit, air is a spirit. So if by burning that piece of paper, you're literally asking the universe for these items, and it will actually come back and make it happen for you. And that depends on your righteousness and your personal relationship with the Creator. When you make love, the heart chakra, if a black man is able to withstand his ejaculation for a time, while the yoni is attempting to suckle his energy, meanwhile the phallus is sucking her energy, if he's able to withstand without coming, I'm going to say it like that, without coming, then believe it or not, that man becomes God for a time, and that's without coming. And you can actually, walk around that for some time. And if you have to release it, you do what you have to do, but understand when you do it, That's what makes a guy not even want to be touched or make love to the woman after he does it in the bed. It's deep. This is some deep stuff. Um, I found this out because it was also part of Egypt called tantric sex. You might want to get into that. That's our stuff. That is our stuff all the way. It did not come from no Caucasian man. And the only culture that actually practice this at this point is the Hindu folks in India. They know everything about that. And it's not surprising that they know about that because some of us actually migrated into India. Caucasians cannot stand when black couples are together. It can potentially destroy their existence if they procreate. Once
Chief,
procreation is established. I'm sorry.
Chief,
Yes.
you know, we have talked for 2 hours, and I see my brother Golden Boy has been writing. I think he has been writing questions. I think he has some questions to ask.
Um, I promise I'll be done. Can you hold it for a minute?
Mhm.
I'm gonna try to skip some of
Yeah,
this.
we have some questions to ask so that we cannot forget. You know, we
All
have
right.
come far away and we have some things. I have some questions, and Golden Boy has some questions. So
Okay. So
I think,
let
yeah,
me go ahead and end it, and then I take in your questions because I don't want you to miss this because I put the sundry mores in this. I'm going to kind of skip this. Um, this is a big one, and I have to say this on air. Um, get the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. Whenever the artificial wants to rule as God, they resort to modern slavery, where citizens are chattel, which aka cattle. When you declare yourself a citizen, you pledge yourself to be a corporation. The death certificate, birth certificate, is false you as it relates to the interstate commerce of this society. The real you is merely a transmitting utility to your false you created by the U.S. government. This fictitious entities cannot engage with the flesh and blood. Anything with red numbers print on the back of your documents, like the birth certificate, social security card, marriage license, etc., is actually traded on New York Stock Exchange. This does not happen in the States, not only in the States, but it's happening worldwide. The term bondage, bond age, is where the term comes from, and is actually owned by these bankers and bureaucrats. So, believe it or not, you have modern day slavery, even though the slavery um, doesn't exist today. The modern slavery does continue. And if you want to know who's running these central banking systems, is these Jews. Look up the Sister KV Trust of 1666. Look up the Organic Act of 1871 of how District of Columbia was formed. Look up 26 USC 7701 defines what a person is. Look at the term person in Article 1, Section 7 in the U.S. Constitution, and then look at the Dred Scott case versus Sanford in 1857, indicating that Black Africans in America are not U.S. citizens. So I'm end it with that, and I will now take your questions. And that's going to lead off to a spinoff whenever you want to do a show on, Jews. There is a video that I would like the viewers to read. So um, when you have the time, we can do that another time and go through that as a spinoff. But yep, what questions do you have?
Yes, thank you for giving us this information. Now, you talked about this that when you want to something to succeed in your life, you take it, you write on a paper, then you burn it in a candle. And you also emphasized on this Hindu. Does it mean that you also have these issues of zodiac signs, where there are people who usually talk with land, others talk with water. They give, like, for example, when they want something to happen, they go and feed the ocean or a lake so that the assistance can be appealed. So please, can you emphasize on these ones?
Sorry, what is the question? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
My question was that do you think that everybody has his or has a zodiac sign? Like, for example, you talked about fire. Like, there are some people, in order for them to succeed, as they talk to fire, like the way you emphasized on, by saying that you write something on a paper, then you burn it, then automatically what you said, it will happen. So does it also mean that there are also some people who, when they talk to land, they talk to water, they talk to air, this thing can happen? Like, does ancestors exist in all these forms?
It's not weird at all to do. I mean, even in the Bible, they talk about the sun a lot. So, and if you think about it, the sun is fire. If you look at a pyramid, it's called House of Fire. That's the original term before it was called pyramid, House of Fire. So, to talk to the major elements is not weird at all because you're breathing in elements every day, and that's the air. You bathe in it every day. It's water. Um, the mere fact that you can talk to yourself, you create a relationship with God with through these elements is a big thing. In a Yoruba sense, if you look at the goddess Yemiya, people pray to her, believe it or not, just because she's one aspect of the creator to make the whole creative source. So all these multiple gods, these are not pagan gods whatsoever. They are little gods that make up the main source, the main God that we see today. So in terms of the zodiac sign, if they're knowledgeable enough from their own ancestors that's passed down from generation to generation. It goes a little bit more further than just a zodiac sign. It's also your birthstone, the reason, the name as to why your mother called you the name that she did, and so forth. Like for example, my wife's name is Dawn, Dawn, and a spiritual guide pretty much came to her and told her, "Hey, you are a rising sun," and that was the reason why your mother named you that. And she's every time that I wake up, she's always my rising sun. You know, so to answer your question, yes, it's not weird to talk to elements. If you want to manipulate fire, uh, you can do that. It takes lots of practice. You have to be taught some things to do just that, to manipulate fire or to manipulate water. All of those things can happen. So there's nothing weird about that whatsoever. Um, and believe it or not, when you talk about zodiac signs, we can talk about the moon, how that actually impacts the woman's womb. They have their cycles. Did you know that the menstrual cycle was the actual start of how calendars was made today? Every time a woman would come on through her menstrual cycle, you kind of know the actual day of the month of when she's coming on. So it's not mistaken. Even in our bodies are made up of water, made out of clay, which is the earth. So we have all four elements, actually all five elements within us. And the fifth element is love. So uh, no difference in terms of cosmos and how it relates and what planets are good. This Earth, but by itself, is actually a woman as well. So no, nothing weird about it.
Thank you for that. What about this? I also heard about as when I want to know if my life is progressing, should I love to face the sun, like face the sun directly. So when my shadow faces backwards, this means that my life is progressing. When the shadow faces forward, this means that my life is succeeding. Do you think this is also actually a true statement? Or
No, no, I wouldn't think too much into that in terms of the direction of whether it's good or bad. I mean, if you want to really go there, I can give you a tool called the pendulum, and or you can look in tarot decks, tarot cards. Nothing spookism about it. These tools are used by our ancient ancestors to kind of get shed some light in terms of getting answers from the spirit worlds, not just from prayers, but there's various other tools that you can use to give you where you stand in life. The one that if I can remember what pendulum that I use that to heal. I use that to heal myself. I use that to give me answers, give me the probability if I'm going in the right direction. You can't ask a question directly, and it uses your own magnetic field to give you the answers that you need. So seeing your shadow um, is uh, I wouldn't look into it too deeply. It's just a certification that actually it's a confirmation that when you were created by God and that you are a real human being from the source and you're counted as the chosen child of God. It's just a confirmation. But you can use it to tell time, and you can, if you want to play with your shadow, you can do that. But it's just melanin. That's all it is. It's melanin.
Okay. For me, I have a lot of questions, but right now I'll just ask one because I'm looking forward for part 3 of this topic because I've seen we have gone so long. So my question is, do you know this I think it's cartoon movies called Simpson?
I'm sorry. Yes, I do.
Simpson, yeah. So I've been going through and I've seen Simpson have been predicting things that are coming in future, and they predicted Donald Trump presidency in 2000, and where they predicted smartwatches, they predicted the discovery of Higgs boson. There's a lot of things
Hello?
that have been predicted on that. You said that our life is being controlled in the head of Caucasian. I don't know, you said something like that, but how is it possible that Simpson are predicting things that will happen even 10 years to come? Is it there's a system controlling this life?
Yes. Look up the word Bilderberg Conference. Bilderberg Conference. It's a group of rich people that come together worldwide. These are bureaucrats. They come together and they talk about what they're going to do to create a false event. One of them is September 11th. One of them is what just occurred in New Orleans. Um, Look up the word project. What is that? Looking Glass. Project Looking Glass. It's also a CIA term that they use where Caucasians wanted to look into the future. Supposedly, they claim that it came from Atlantis, and if anybody understands the fall of Atlantis and Lemuria, it was our own people that created something so sophisticated that they can actually change the weather patterns on the planet. And they did something that pretty much destroyed their entire society. And it was a technology that they developed that went bad, and supposedly um, you can leave it up to the Caucasians. They always find a way to um, reverse engineer what was already done and try to use it. Call it HARP, for example. HARP is used right now to control the weather. You got these chemtrails that they spray in the skies, brominium, aluminum, etc., to try to cause people to be sick and so forth. So if you're wondering how does the producer of The Simpsons, and not just The Simpsons, Family Guy, you got South Park, there's another one. These individuals are, if you look at who are the producers behind it, it's ran by Jews. And these Jews actually plan these events of what they're going to do. So leave it to them to tell you what they're going to do before they actually do it. It may not happen right then and there, but it actually happens through movies. Even it's not just The Simpsons. It's even in horror films. To be one. I forgot the name of the movie with the monkeys, where they was experimenting with the monkeys and they somehow affected everyone and they became zombies. Or they were trying to do that with the COVID-19, and the people that take the shots with the COVID-19 actually is some sort of artificial intelligence in the shot, so that when you inject the shot into you, they were experimenting on human beings, believe it or not, to see if you could take it, or see if the human being was able to take it, or actually convert them into a transhumanoid individual, so you no longer become human. That's all actually been stated. Let me see if I can find the. I gotta find the. I actually have the. Let's see, where's my phone? I have the patent, because leave it to that Caucasian man. Everything. The only thing that the Caucasians have created is the patent industry, and they sure know how to create some bad things. They got stuff out here that that can actually cure. There's like over 6,000 cures out there. Yeah, but Project Looking Glass is a system that they can look in the future to determine whether or not how things are going to go. Now, the only reason why they created this system to begin with is because they don't have the melanin to go through those ethers to actually understand what the future is going to be like. And little do they know, the future is not always set. It's always what you do here that actually determines what your future is going to be. That's why they created the machine in Switzerland, that big old collider system. Supposedly they was going to do an atom smasher, then they changed it up and wanted to do something else. Little did they know, every time that they turn these machines on, they actually activate our melanin for us to become greater, and they turn off. That's why they only turn it on for a short time. So to answer your question, that's how they're able to make these so-called predictions. They already pre-planned these events before they actually happens.
Okay. Thank you for your answer. I think I have a lot of questions, but I want to save it for episode 3 of this topic, because we have gone. You see my boy here, his eyes is red.
I told you it was going to be too much information. So this pretty much, I just wanted to make this part of the video better.
Yeah.
And I will
Yeah.
give you the notes so that you can give to your viewers so that they can do some homework for themselves, because obviously, sometimes people want information to be given to them. They don't want to be going out there on their own to do it. So you kind of give them some encouragement. And that's the reason why I'm doing this for everybody. So, hey, no worries.
So, so we'll be waiting for part 3.
No problem. Just let me know when you're able to do it, and we'll stay in touch. And I can, like I said, if anybody want me to appear on their show, let them contact through you first, and we can go from there. Because I actually saw a couple of people that want me to appear on their show. So, again, they got to get the permission through you because, it's all good. Mad respect for me for having me on your show. And
Yeah.
so I just, like I said, your viewership is off the charts at this point. And this is just information that's out of this world. So you just let me know.
So if you are a YouTuber, you are here and you want to have Chief Zulu on your channel, my number is there. You can contact me. Adua Medusausi, Ronnie Rowe, El Miller, and all of you Nubian kin who have been here. Thank you so much for being here. You're so blessed. Golden Boy, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I just want to say that thank you, Chief Zulu, for giving us these informations, almost close to 3 hours. So before we even finalize, I'm disturbing, but do you think that this disease called cancer is really, really treatable? Because recently I've seen people talking about it, saying that this disease is treatable and that they are trying to hide the medicine from the public.
If I had a little time, Golden Boy, I would definitely provide you the evidence, but you can actually go yourself online, type up the actual cancer and type up patent. You'll see that all your cancers that you see today was actually created artificially because one, they want to be able to remove people off their land, or two, they want to be able to control you completely and you become an actual automaton like the Matrix movie. So yes, all of that is basically created. These are all man-made, and it did not come from the source. Because why would God curse you to become a leopard or whatever? The way it was described in the Bible. Yes, sometimes it could be a cover-up. If you want to take a look at it that way, because you might have something that's real special that they want, and they want to remove you off the land to do that. So this is I call it a bioweapon, in my opinion. These are just bioweapons used against the people, another form of saying this is a nuclear situation. That way it doesn't look like it's actually bad. When in actuality, you got people like Bill Gates that going around buying people's property, and he sit there and invests in these vaccines and all this bad stuff causing cancer. So yes, most of your cancers today is all man-made.
I don't have much to talk about here. Kenyan beast.
Okay, I think we're just gonna finish here so that we can prepare ourselves for part 3 of this topic. I just want to thank all the people who have been here. Now we are closing this show. Thank you so much for this broadcast. This is from Aduo. Thank you so much to Chief Zulu. Thank you for availing yourself. And Golden Boy, thank you for being here again. I think we meet next time. Okay, Chief Zulu.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me on the show. God bless you, and I wish you nothing but the best. And just let me know when you're ready to have me come on board, and we'll go from there.
Okay, Golden Boy, maneno yako ya mwisho matatu. Your last words.
Ashe.
Unmute.
My last words. I don't have last words. Actually, I hope that next time we will meet and Chief Zulu will continue to discuss this information to the public. I don't have much. Thank you.
Thank you, all of you. Chief Zulu, I think we meet the next episode. Golden Boys meet on the next episode. Everyone who you are watching here, let's meet at the next episode. And I will urge you to subscribe on this YouTube channel. We have more videos. We're posting videos. We're doing videos We are Pan-Africanists. We're doing videos on Black people, you know, Black Lives Matters. And you can go to Golden Boy channel, subscribe there. You can subscribe here in Kenyan Beast. And again, we have another channel called African Streamline, talking about African politics. You can subscribe there. Okay? I love you, all of you. Chief Zulu, you're okay to go. Golden Boy, you're okay to go. AI Matrix, you are loving you. Yes?
Yes? Let me go and sleep. Do you know it is late?
Okay, my people, thank you so much for being here. We'll meet in the next episode. Make sure you watch my videos. I have videos there. I do good videos. And if you have comments, if there's something I've said that you don't like it, just comment down there and then we'll reply as we go. Until next time, peace be unto you, all of you. Thank you.